Hello everybody, welcome back to Pixar Astrology. I'm your host Pix, checking in, cross-eyed and sleepy, ready to give you the rundown on what to expect for this full moon lunar eclipse happening on Saturday, October 28th at 5 degrees Taurus. I'll be going over each sign individually, so you'll be able to check how this full moon's going to affect you or someone you know, and I will be sharing tips on how to deal with the eclipse vibes as well. So this is the final eclipse in the Taurus and Scorpio axis, the final eclipse of the year, thank the Lord. And how have we all been doing? We're almost done. Happy Halloween to those of you who celebrate. Happy Samhain. Is that how you pronounce it? I am dressed like an Espeon cat, a baby Espeon, because my ears are too small, but purple. I'm psychic, the psychic Pokemon. I don't know about y'all, but my life has been a complete whirlwind and mess for the past few weeks during eclipse season. I've been very busy writing horoscopes, trimming lots of weed. It's trim season over here in California. My grandmother, who I am the caretaker for, her health is kind of declining, so we've been having to go to the doctor a bit more, taking up some time, and of course, emotionally, it's been pretty hard too, because, she's one of my besties. But yeah, it truly is the ending of one era and the beginning of another era. Things have been so eclipsy lately, especially globally. I mean, with the genocide happening to the poor Palestinian people, for example. I can't believe this is happening in our lifetime. I can and I can't. You know what I mean? It's terrible. It's horrible. So before I go into each of the signs, I'm going to do a short overview that is relevant for all of you, so I don't have to repeat it 12 times because this video is already going to be very long. So let's just talk about eclipses. So as I said in my last video, eclipses represent the ending of an era and the beginning of an era happening kind of at the same time. I go into solar eclipses in my last video, so if you haven't seen it, I recommend checking that out, at least watching the overview at the beginning. But lunar eclipses specifically are supercharged versions of full moons that carry history with them. So this eclipse happening on the 28th is a culmination and a wrap-up of the eclipses that have been going on since technically fall of 2021 to fall of this year. Officially, eclipses on the Taurus and Scorpio axis kicked off around November 19th, 2021, and that is when the initial signs of change were seen in your Taurus whole sign house and Scorpio, but we're talking about Taurus right now. So the real game changer, though, with this series came when the solar eclipse new moon happened at 10 degrees Taurus on April 30th, 2022. So that date marked a significant new start or foundation with the Taurus whole sign house in your chart. So this eclipse is going to bring some things into focus and separate something from the past. It's essentially a time to let go. It's a full moon, a big full moon. So it's time for culmination and release. And it is a partial eclipse. It's an out of sign node eclipse. So it's not as strong as 2 weeks ago eclipse, but don't underestimate its power given the current astrology weather, which I will get into next to kind of set the scene for this eclipse. But these shifts with this Taurus-Scorpio axis have played out over nearly a 2-year time frame, so the end of 2021 to the end of 2023. And here is the list of dates of all the eclipses. So look back at your calendars, your social media accounts, your emails, your iCloud, whatever you can look back at to look at these dates and kind of string along your narrative for the Scorpio and Taurus house topics. So this eclipse happening on October 28th is the final chapter closing out from this narrative. Again, it's at 5 degrees Taurus, and the eclipse will exact at 1:24 Pacific time. 1:24 p.m. Pacific time. So this wasn't a one and done deal. This was a long haul journey that went over the past 2 years. So setting the scene, we already know that full moons are very emotional, lots of big feelings, a culmination. And at the same time, setting the scene, we have a Mercury-Mars conjunction in Scorpio opposing Jupiter in Taurus. So this injects a very lively and sometimes combative energy into the mix. It brings in some extra sharp thinking, Mercury's speed and Mars's speed, very quick. So also words can have quite an edge. They can cut deep with, sharp thinking, sharp words. Opinions might be running very high with that opposition to Jupiter. Risk taking. We're all going to feel very risky, ready to gamble, ready to just say fuck it and do things. Risk taking is boosted for better or for worse. Relationship tension can also crank up a notch with this mixture. So don't be surprised if you're bickering with somebody. Any kind of electronics or communication or social type of stuff might not be very reliable or might be kind of iffy. Watch out for shady characters. Watch out for thieves. That's Mercury, Mars, traditionally. Thieves and scammers and that sort of thing. Also, brutal honesty coming through. Again, those sharp words might be necessary, but might be brutal. So with that being said, don't start anything unless you're willing to finish it, because this is going to be something that cuts deep and doesn't just roll off your back. It's going to be something you're going to have to continue talking about if you bring something up. So don't start anything unless you're prepared to finish it with this eclipse. In Scorpio too, we have obsessive thoughts or deep dives or super intense research, getting kind of into one thing and obsessing over it. Mars versus Jupiter brings in kind of an energy of, should I be moral? Should I have ethics? Should I follow ethics? Or should I be Mars and just be mean? Aggressive or nice? Just be careful that you don't get caught up in conflicts that aren't worth your time. That's kind of the energy, the scene that this eclipse is in. This is an eclipse that's technically conjoining the North Node out of sign. It embodies, instead of the spirit, which is what the South Node embodies, the North Node embodies the material. It brings gain, it brings expansion and increase, for better or for worse. So this can generally seem like a blessing in the material world, but it often involves very, very complex entanglements and unquenchable desires. So it's an energy that does push us towards growth, and there is always, always, always a hunger for more with the North Node. It cannot get enough. And that doesn't always translate into a, straightforward boon of some kind. So there is an asterisk. Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. So the North Node in general amplifies any planet or point that conjoins it. And it also brings kind of like a destined feel. It's like Jesus takes the wheel a little bit with the nodes. So North Node kind of makes the eclipse, makes the moon more intense, makes it more wanty, makes it more desireful. It's amplifying this Taurus moon, which is exalted, which loves the finer things, likes nice things. The North Node is out of sign, though, so that's why it's a partial eclipse. It's not as intense, but still, we have that North Node vibe. Venus, again, is the ruler of this eclipse, which is interesting because we had that Libra eclipse 2 weeks ago, but we have Venus ruling this eclipse as well in a different sign. So this is another final step in Venus's transformation journey that it's been going through since the beginning of this summer, the beginning of its retrograde, and it's in detriment in Virgo, so it's still struggling out a little bit, but it does trine the eclipse. So the eclipse can see its ruler, which is a very good sign for clarity and for wrapping things up. So overall, it's not the most challenging eclipse itself, but the weather that surrounds it kind of makes it weird. Okay, here are my tips for dealing with this eclipse. This is kind of more of a reminder. No manifestation rituals. No manifestation rituals. Avoid that, because unless you are well versed in chaos magic, which some people think they are, I have my doubts. But the eclipses are chaos magic. And if you're trying to manifest something using an eclipse, because think about what an eclipse is. It's the moon or sun eclipsing, getting eclipsed. Something is getting eclipsed and cut out and invisible. And that's not really the kind of magic you want to use to manifest something you want. If you use, like, for example, if you want to manifest a new boyfriend or something like that, a new partner, be careful. Be careful, because you don't know exactly how that will come up. Maybe something bad will happen and then you will be introduced to him. You know what I mean? Let me think of this story. Like, you are trying to manifest a new boyfriend and you end up hurting yourself and going to the hospital and meeting your new partner because they're the nurse. That's not how you wanted to get a new partner. You didn't want to have to break your fucking leg to get a new partner. You can't control how the things manifest when you use eclipse energy. So eclipses are good for releasing or cleansing. Like going to some sort of body of water is supported. Intentionally letting things go, taking a salt bath, whatever cleansing rituals you do, whatever letting go rituals you do are supported, because generally when you let things go, you're letting it go. It doesn't matter how it goes. So the eclipse can take it and do whatever the fuck it wants, right? Ideally, we're letting things go, so it doesn't matter how it goes. So yeah, no manifestations happening. Cleanses are okay. And this is the last eclipse of the year. So after this eclipse, you can use all of the lunations to manifest or do whatever the fuck you want, but not this one. Okay? And last point, which is a bonus point and also a reminder that I will always preach about. As I said last time, the ancients believed that eclipses emit baleful rays, which could give you bad luck for the following year. They also didn't know that washing your hands could keep you from getting sick and dying. So we need to take everything the ancients say with a grain of salt. But if you are superstitious, maybe watch the eclipse from inside or don't watch it at all. Life happens though. Like 2 weeks ago during the eclipse, I planned to not go outside and hunker down, but I had to go outside. I went outside exactly while it was happening, and it was weird vibes, and whoops, I didn't want to, but I did. And this isn't my first rodeo, so I'm sure I'll be fine. But if you are superstitious, stay inside, don't mess with people. So that's my overview that I have. And now I'm going to move on to sign by sign. So be sure to check the timestamps in the video description. For reference, I am a Western tropical astrologer leaning towards more of an ancient side rather than a modern side of astrology, mostly not because I'm a modern astrology hater, but because I use ancient timing techniques like profections, and you have to use whole sign houses for that. So I use whole sign houses, and I divine these horoscopes by rising sign, as most other astrologers do. So I recommend you look at your rising sign at least first, if not only your rising sign, because it will be the most accurate. Why? Why look at the rising sign first? Because as I said, astrologers usually write their horoscopes based on their rising sign, because that's how astrology charts are read generally. Your rising sign sets the stage for all 12 houses, which cover, all the different areas of your life, from relationships to career. And all of those houses have rulers, and that's how you start to read a chart. So the rising sign is determined by your exact birth time and birthplace, and that makes it even more tailored to you, which also creates this archetypal imprint. Your rising sign is the zodiac sign that was rising on the eastern horizon at the exact moment of your birth. So just like as you're being birthed into the world, that sign's archetypes that are rising on the horizon are also birthed into the sky and kind of imprinted, it creates this unique imprint or stamp of that sign's characteristics onto you. So reading your horoscope by rising sign offers a way more precise view of what you're likely to encounter on a daily basis. Asterisk, if you have a midheaven that's not in the 10th house or an IC that's not in the 4th house, there's a little bit of flexibility. So keep that in mind. Learn more about your midheaven and IC if they're not in the 10th or 4th house. I digress. The next time you read your horoscope or check out a horoscope, always read the one for your rising sign, because that will provide a way more accurate snapshot of your life. If you don't know your rising sign, Google rising sign or ascendant calculator and know what time and place you were born. If you don't know what time you were born, contact the hospital, maybe. People have had success stories that way. Otherwise, there is a possibility that your chart can be rectified and you can figure out what your chart actually is. It just takes an appointment with a trusted astrologer to figure it out. So with that being said, hop to your rising sign. Hello, Aries. So this full moon lunar eclipse is at 5 degrees Taurus in your second house. This is a supercharged full moon that is illuminating those Taurus house topics in your chart and compelling you to release outdated or old narratives and clearing a way for something new there. Think of it as a very intense, desire-driven finish line where strategic choices are meeting a hunger for change. So the second house themes are bring a spotlight onto your resources, your financial matters, and your self-worth or how you value yourself. It sheds a light on finances, income, physical possessions, reevaluation, or shifts or finalizations in how you handle money and resources. There is some sort of intense final moment to release outdated financial habits or financial perspectives. Venus is still in Virgo in its last week of its transformation journey. Since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer, it is still in detriment in your 6th house, but only until November 8th. Things will improve. So the 6th house themes are brought in, which is your routine, your workplace, never-ending to-do lists, your health, your pets, people that you hire, people that you work with, your general lifestyle, and your general routine and daily to-dos. So there's a potential for benchmarking old habits, old work habits, old lifestyle choices, or even something to do with your relationship with your pets. There may be some sort of addressing of putting out fires in your life, dealing with never-ending to-do lists, or just confronting workplace challenges in general. It also asks you to benchmark and reflect on health matters of some kind, including potential changes to your approach to your health and wellness. Venus also rules your 7th house. So there is some overlap with the October 14th eclipse or the topics and themes that have crossover there. So the eclipse might bring some focus on your interpersonal connections, your partners, your besties, your clients, any one-on-one time. So as I said in the last eclipse season is a process. So although I'm talking about this being the final hoorah in this series, that doesn't mean that that's it, you know? These shifts have been playing out for over a nearly 2-year time frame from 2021 to 2023. Here are the list of dates if you missed it. So, you know, look back at your calendars, your social media, your emails, your iCloud, and see if you can construct a narrative of some kind with the Taurus house topics in your chart. So the final chapter is closing now with this last, lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Taurus, October 28th. But there will be some, residuals. But overall, this is the last benchmark moment with this narrative. So what can you expect with an eclipse happening in your Taurus house? I had people write in to tell me what happened the last time there was a lunar eclipse in their Taurus house. This is what the Aries rising had to say. Last time there was a full moon lunar eclipse in my 2nd house, I experienced a total financial wake-up call. A job offer I had been waiting on finally came through with a significant pay raise. Meanwhile, I felt the urge to declutter, and I sold off a bunch of stuff I didn't need, which surprisingly added a good chunk to my savings. To top it all off, I paid off a lingering debt that had been stressing me out for years. The eclipse gave me the push to reevaluate my resources, and by the end, my relationship with money felt healthier and more in line with my actual needs. Amazing. I love that eclipse story for the Aries risings. So, what are some possible effects of this eclipse for y'all? Sudden clarity about your finances is possible. So, expecting some sort of light bulb moment that could lead you to make significant benchmark finishing touches in how you manage money and how you are going to manage money moving forward. The closing of accounts is supported, wrapping up old debts, old financial obligations that have been lingering for the past couple years. Strong emotional reactions we can expect. You might find yourself a bit more emotionally invested in things, especially your resources, your possessions, your blankie that you've had since you were a child, for better or for worse. What else? You can also expect some sort of spur of the moment spending with Mars opposing Jupiter. The urge to splurge and to take financial risks will be a bit stronger. There's also possibility for intense conversations around money. So don't be surprised if financial talks with partners or loved ones get a little bit heated or in depth. Brutal honesty might be a theme. There is a reevaluation of self-worth happening for you with this eclipse. You might find yourself taking a look at what really defines your value and your self-worth beyond material possessions. Also, just work and money in general. Given Venus's current placement, you might also be reevaluating your work-life balance and how that influences your financial stability. Also, some sort of relationship overhaul. Maybe not a complete overhaul, but the focus is on finances, but Venus is the ruler, so that might mean some issues with one-on-one relationships also coming up for benchmark moments. Again, watch for overlaps with that October 14th eclipse. Also, opportunities to let go. So whether you're selling stuff that you don't need or you're dropping some sort of bad financial habit, maybe you're quitting vaping or something like that, that energy is ripe for release. And lastly, some sort of desire, North Node driven action. With the North Node in play, you might feel a very intense urge to move towards something new, even if it's complicated or if it involves some sort of risk. So be alert and aware of that. I'm not saying any of that is bad. I'm saying be cautious, be aware, be mindful. So here are the tips that I have specifically for this eclipse for Aries rising. Number 1, hold off on big financial moves. Like, given that Mars-Jupiter opposition, the temptation to make very quick decisions regarding finances or purchases might be loud and strong. So unless it's urgent or unless it's some like really strong intuition feeling you have, wait a little bit before you buy anything big or make any big financial moves. Again, unless you've already been making financial moves and this is like the final moment to wrap something up, like you just finished buying a house or something like that, and this is the final moving in moment, you know what I mean? And you need to buy your couch, like that would be okay. But if you just notice something you want to buy during the eclipse and it's expensive, give it a couple days. Just give it a couple days. Also, keep your communication lines open. So with the Mercury-Mars thing happening, talking about what you're going through can offer clarity. Just make sure that make sure that you're being cautious and not getting caught up in useless conflicts. It'll be easy to argue and be combative, and we need to focus on what to prioritize there. Number 4, this is a good time for self-reflection and auditing of some kind. So like audit your financial goals, benchmark, are your financial goals aligned with your values? And this is just a time to think about this, not necessarily act on it. Okay, Aries. So this eclipse is asking you, what saga related to your resources or your sense of self-worth is wrapping up now? Are there any untapped skills or resources that you've set aside but could really level up your game right now? Maybe there's a way to monetize a talent or shift your money mindset for the better. That is what the eclipse wants you to consider, and that is what we have, Aries. So how are you feeling about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any of these patterns before? Drop a comment, let's share and learn from each other. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like and subscribe to help support the community. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, remember my fellowship offers personalized horoscopes. I am also available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join the free 9th House Discord server to keep the Astro Convo flowing. Thank you so much, friends. I will see you on the other side. Hello, my Taurus rising besties. This full moon eclipse is going to be at 5 degrees Taurus in your first house, and it puts a decisive end to a 2-year saga that's been unfolding in your Taurus whole sign house. It's a supercharged full moon that is illuminating those Taurus house topics, compelling you to release outdated old narratives from the past 2 years and to clear space for something new, for new narratives. So think of this eclipse as an intense, desire-driven finish line where strategic choices are meeting a hunger for change. And this eclipse is happening in your first house. This is a big one for the Tauruses. This whole series has been big for y'all. The first house is the focus on yourself, your identity, your personal presentation, your personal goals and objectives, and how you see and view the world. So the eclipse sheds light on how you are perceived, how you perceive the world. It is a benchmark of your vibe, your appearance, your overall identity, how you choose to exist on this earth. It provides an intense moment of release for releasing outdated narratives of yourself, and helps you make strategic plans and choices for more personal change. So this is a wrap up again. So this is like the final benchmark moment of the last 2 years transformation saga of your identity. Venus is the ruler of this eclipse, along with your ruler, and Venus is still in Virgo on its last week of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer, and it is still in detriment in your 5th house until November 8th. After November 8th, Taurus rising, you are going to be so much fucking happier, I swear. When Venus stops getting wrecked, you're going to feel so much better. And that will be after November 8th, okay? So this eclipse is going to draw some attention to your creative pursuits, your projects, the things you work on and create and cultivate. If you don't think you're an artist, you can cultivate and, have a project that is your garden, for example. That's not necessarily traditionally artistic, but it does require creativity, right? So there is potential for revisiting old projects or rekindling romantic interests, or just evaluating your approach to how you have fun and how you relax. The eclipse brings an opportunity for some sort of shift in how you engage with your creative activities and recreational sports or games, or your children and children's lives, or birth or pregnancy. So Venus also rules your 6th house. So there may be some themes that from this eclipse that overlapped from the October 14th eclipse. Maybe it's adapting to some sort of new workplace dynamic, or adjusting your health regimen, or handling changes with pets in general that have been going on for the past 2 years. So this eclipse is going to bring into focus how far you've come with your day-to-day routine, your health, your pets in the past 2 years. As I said in the last video, eclipse season is a process. So these shifts with this series have played out over nearly a 2-year time frame from 2021 to 2023. Here's the list of dates. Look back at your calendar, your social media, your emails, your iCloud to see what was going on for these dates to help you construct the narrative that's been changing for this Taurus whole sign house with your identity. How have you changed? But yeah, the final chapter of this narrative, of this story, is closing now with this last lunar eclipse happening on October 28th. So it's not a one and done deal. This has been a long haul journey, and this is the final benchmark moment, and there will be some residuals after this with this narrative, but overall, this is the last final hoorah. So what can you expect with this eclipse? Some possible themes include final realizations about yourself. This is an eclipse where you're likely going to have an aha moment about your personal identity and wrapping up something that's lingered since at least the spring of 2022. and wrapping it up so that you can move on with the next phase. So it also possibly provides the last piece of the makeover puzzle. So if you've been slowly changing your appearance or slowly changing how you want to exist and feel in life, this could be the eclipse that gives you the final touch of this complete transformation that then ushers you into a new phase in your life. It is an eclipse that can help you break free for good from old habits that you've been trying to shake since this eclipse series began. Now is finally the final break. Emotional resolutions also are possible, like emotional arcs that started around the beginning of 2022 concerning how you view yourself, how you feel about yourself, could reach a natural end or a turning point, ushering you into a new level. You can also possibly expect settling some sort of relationship score. Tensions that have been building in your relationships may reach a boiling point with this eclipse, which will allow for resolutions and decisions moving forward. Like closing conversations, discussions that have been ongoing since the beginning of 2022 could come to a conclusive end, for better or worse, and usher you into the next part 2, part 3, whatever part. Final gambits. Any risks that you've been contemplating over this eclipse series, you might take them now, as if you're playing your final card in a situation. There are also destined decisions that you might notice coming up. The culmination of events from this eclipse may have you feeling like you're at a crossroads of some kind, making some sort of final, fateful choice, thanks to the North Node. Thanks to Venus being in your 5th house, we can also expect some sort of last call on creative or romantic benchmark moments. If you've been revisiting some sort of creative or romantic endeavor, this eclipse offers some sort of final clarity moment that wraps up this course. And because Venus also rules your 6th house, we can expect some sort of day-to-day wrap-up. If you've been like tweaking your daily routines or your exercise regimen or your work-life balance for the past 2 years, this is when you'll see if the changes you've started to make since spring 2022 have panned out as expected. So, I wanted to tell you a story. I asked my Instagram to write in to tell me a story about the last time an eclipse happened in their 1st house, and this is what Taurus rising had to say. Last time there was a lunar eclipse in my 1st house, I felt like I was standing at a crossroads, looking at different versions of myself. I had always been the stable, dependable Taurus, but I felt an unshakable urge to reinvent my image. I ended up splurging on a new wardrobe that was totally different from my usual style, and even changed my hairstyle. It was as if the eclipse was pushing me to shed an old version of myself and embrace something new. The changes felt intimidating at first, but ultimately gave me a renewed sense of confidence. I thought that was such a good 1st house eclipse. So here are some tips for dealing with this eclipse. This is what I recommend, okay? Number 1, pause, do not act. Given that this is a culmination point eclipse, try to observe and reflect rather than take any drastic actions unless it happens naturally. Don't push it, you know what I mean? Your perspectives and your emotions are very, very heightened during this eclipse. So it's a time for final realizations rather than new beginnings. And number 2, be sure you are mindful of your words and your actions, but communication is going to be iffy. Tensions are going to be high with this full moon. Be mindful of your interactions and avoid conflicts that are not worth your time. Self-care is essential for this eclipse, especially for y'all Taurus risings. Given that it is in your 1st house, focusing on self-care is a very, very good way to navigate anything coming up now. So it might be as simple as taking time for yourself, just to meditate alone in your room, or a salt bath, or a long hike by yourself, taking yourself out to eat, door dashing something you love, self-care, okay? Also, reviewing and planning instead of doing. This is a time to look back at how far you've come since the spring of 2022 or even the fall of 2021, and to consider what intentions you want to set moving forward, keeping in mind lessons learned. without setting the intentions, just considering them. So, Taurus, this is what the eclipse asks you. What has this 2-year journey taught you about yourself and your identity? How have you changed in the way that you interact with the world? And what final adjustments or final releases do you need to make to fully step into this next evolved version of yourself? It is an eclipse to acknowledge the transformations that have been taking place and solidify this new era of your identity that's been prepared since 2022, but you're stepping into now. So that's what we have, Taurus. How do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any patterns or noticed anything coming up? Please drop a comment. I love reading your comments and stories. Let's share and learn from each other. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like and subscribe to help build the community. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, you can join Pix's Fellowship for personalized monthly or weekly horoscopes. I am available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join us in the free 9th House Discord server to talk about astrology and tarot and all things mystical. Thank you again for being here, friends. I really appreciate y'all Tauruses, my fixed sign besties. I'll catch you on the flip side. Hello, Gemini rising. This full moon eclipse is at 5 degrees Taurus in your 12th house. This is an eclipse that puts a decisive end to a 2-year saga that's been unfolding in your Taurus whole sign house or with those topics. It is a supercharged full moon that is illuminating those Taurus topics and compelling you to release outdated narratives to clear space for the next era of your life. So think of this eclipse as a very intense, desire-driven finish line where your strategic choices are meeting your hunger for change. And this is your 12th house. So this brings some focus on retreating or resting or just your internal world in general. It will, with the eclipse in your 12th house, this sheds some light on your mental health, on your spirituality, and any hidden aspects of your life. This is a crucial eclipse to release any old narratives or hidden enemies that have been affecting your well-being for the past 2 years. This is an intense opportunity to make some sort of strategic choices in how you handle your alone time, your spirituality, and your mental health. We love a 12th house eclipse. That was what happened for me 2 weeks ago. And you kind of just don't know what's going on when it's in your 12th house. It's hard to really connect to and hard to see. But we'll get into that because Venus is the ruler of this eclipse also, just like last time. And Venus is still in Virgo, but this time it's on the last week of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer. But it's still in detriment in Virgo in your 4th house until November 8th, when things will improve greatly. So Venus in Virgo can see this eclipse from your 4th house. So you can get a lot of help with this eclipse when you consider 4th house topics. So attention on your home life, your foundation, your family, your roots, your private life in general. Taking some time there will help you see what's going on with this eclipse. So there's a potential for revisiting family dynamics, rekindling relationships with family members in general, or reevaluating your home environment. So there is some opportunity for shifts in how you engage with your home life, your family, and your emotional and physical foundations. And you will be able to understand this eclipse when you engage more with your home life or you spend time at home. Venus also rules your 5th house. So there may be some overlap from themes or topics coming up from the October 14th eclipse 2 weeks ago, whether it's revisiting old creative projects or benchmarking your dating life or reconsidering how you have fun. This eclipse is also going to bring some focus on how you are involved in those areas as well, or it encourages you to do so, I should say. So, as I said in the last video, eclipse season is a process. These shifts have been playing out for a nearly 2-year time frame from 2021 to 2023. Here is the list of dates. Look back at your calendars, social media, emails, iCloud, journals, etc. to kind of construct the narrative, benchmark what was going on during these dates, and you can figure out what was happening with these Taurus topics. And so, here are some possible themes from this Taurus eclipse in your 12th house. Maybe you experience a mental health reevaluation. And I didn't mean to make that sound so like 5150-ish, but becoming acutely aware of any mental health issues that you've been avoiding. The eclipse may urge you to seek therapy or to delve into self-care practices or routines, or remind you of how important they are. It helps you see things that you don't usually look at. Number 2 on what to expect, some sort of hidden things. Exactly what I was saying. You cannot really see anything in the 12th house, so hidden things get revealed, whether it's something about yourself or something about someone else. Maybe prepare for something hidden to come to light, whether that's by choice or by accident. Also, spiritual awakenings are possible with this eclipse. Feelings of spirituality in general are amplified. You might find yourself drawn to some sort of spiritual practices, philosophies, religious texts, that kind of thing. Retreat is recommended. You might feel a very strong urge to spend time alone, to take a break from social interactions, and to spend time by yourself to reflect and recharge. Traveling is boosted. Travel opportunities. Don't be surprised if some sort of unexpected travel opportunity comes up. It's a good time to go on a spiritual retreat, or maybe you just find yourself wanting to visit a place that holds some sort of significant emotional or psychological meaning to you. Supported. You can expect family stuff to come up. Again, with Venus in your 4th house, family issues, long-standing dynamics coming up, culminating, being dealt with. A creative resurgence, since Venus rules your 5th house. You might, again, want to revisit certain creative projects, reassess what brings you joy and pleasure with art, with sex, with games, with whatever you do for fun and pleasure. You can access some of this eclipse by doing that, and it is supported. Heightened intuition, definitely with an eclipse in your 12th house. Your gut feelings are extremely strong when there is an eclipse happening in your 12th house. So listen to your gut. Maybe do some automatic writing, which is when you are journaling mindlessly, which means like just writing whatever comes to your head on a piece of paper. Technology issues are possible. Given Mercury and Mars doing their thing, technology could fail. Particularly when it pertains to communicating. So phones, expect travel delays, be careful of accidents, drive very, very carefully. People are going to be driving like insanity. And also with that, confrontations are possible. With Mercury, Mars, there's a risk-taking vibe. Watch out for conflicts, heated debates, especially in the areas of one-on-one interactions or just within your own internal dialogue, really. Be nice to yourself. You better not be calling yourself names in your head. But yeah, this is the closing of a chapter. This is the culmination of a series of eclipses, so expect to have a greater understanding of the changes that have been happening since 2021, especially when you look at those dates. It is time to release the old narratives and to make space for the new. And I asked my Instagram to write in stories on the last time there was a lunar eclipse in their life, and this is what Gemini rising had to say about the lunar eclipse in their 12th house. Last time there was a lunar eclipse in my 12th house, it felt like I had just pulled back the curtain on a whole world I never knew existed within me. I had been wrestling with this unshakable feeling of being stuck and confined, but couldn't figure out why. When the eclipse hit, I found myself having a breakthrough during a solo retreat I'd impulsively booked. It was like the universe was shaking me, telling me to confront the parts of myself I kept hidden and was escaping from. During the retreat, I opened up to a stranger about some deeply personal things I'd never even told my closest friends. That experience felt like releasing years of pent-up emotional baggage, and I emerged feeling lighter and more centered than I had in years. Had to share. That's a fellow Gemini rising telling you what they went through during the last eclipse in their 12th house. Okay, here are my tips for dealing with this eclipse. Introspection is the name of the game for y'all for this eclipse. The 12th house is all about what's hidden, what's internal, what's beneath the surface, what is behind the curtain, okay? Use this eclipse to reflect on you, on your needs, your wants, and what you need to let go of, and deep dive into your emotions and thoughts while trying to stay grounded as best you can. This is an opportunity to deal with shit that has been lurking in the back and to finally put a bow tie on it and move on from that saga and onto a new saga. Number 3, focus on your mental health specifically. So this is a really good time to talk to a therapist, to meditate, to journal, to do what you need to do to check in with yourself, to actually take action in doing something to connect with yourself. It will be very, very, very easy to dissociate during this eclipse, which is okay. But also, you have this opportunity to benchmark and I at least recommend journaling about how you are doing over the past, how you are doing now over the past 2 years. Okay, fourth tip, guard your energy. With the edgy Mercury-Mars conjunction and Jupiter opposing all of it, people might be way more confrontational or tense. Tension will be running high. So be very selective about what energy you interact with during this eclipse and don't get caught up in any unnecessary drama. So Gemini, I digress. This is the last act. It is the curtain call with this story. After a 2-year saga of shifts and changes, especially in the realm of your inner world and your mental health, what wisdom have you gathered? How has your relationship with solitude, spirituality, or even your own mental health evolved? Are there any old narratives or old emotional baggages that needs to be released that you're ready to say goodbye to? This is your eclipse to recognize the leaps that you've made since 2022 and to decide what needs to be left in the past as you move forward. So this is a wrap up, a final chapter in a long transformative journey. Make it count, Gemini. That's what we have. So how do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? What are you expecting? Are you noticing any patterns? Drop a comment. I love to read your stories. I love when you share and we can learn from each other. And if you enjoyed this video, please remember to like and subscribe to help support the community, to help it grow. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, you are welcome to join Pix's Fellowship for personalized weekly or monthly horoscopes. I am also available for one-on-one consultations, either with readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join us in the free 9th House Discord server to keep the astro, tarot, mystical conversation flowing. And that's what we have, y'all. Thank you so much. I'll catch you on the flip side. Hello, Cancer rising. Let us talk about this full moon lunar eclipse happening at 5 degrees Taurus in your 11th house. This eclipse puts a decisive end to the 2-year saga that's been unfolding in your Taurus whole sign house. It is a supercharged full moon that illuminates the Taurus whole sign house topics in your chart and compels you to release some sort of old narrative to clear space for a new chapter. And this eclipse is happening in your 11th house. This brings in focus around your community connections, your friendships, and just in general, your broader networks. This is an eclipse that brings time to consider who your true allies are and where you fit into certain social circles. So you might be looking at how you engage with social causes or social groups, with certain allies. Also, money from your job, maybe changes happening there. But this is an intense eclipse moment to say goodbye to certain friendships, certain allies, certain groups, certain relationships, or certain causes. And Venus is the ruler of this eclipse. And Venus is still in Virgo on its last week of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer. It will be moving into Libra on November 8th, and that will be a brand new, shiny new Venus. Will be nice for everybody. But right now, it's still in detriment in your 3rd house. So this eclipse calls some attention to your immediate environment, or your communication style, and potentially your relationships with the people near you, which are your roommates, your neighbors, possibly your siblings or your extended family. With this communication theme, also, it could be time for a tech upgrade a wrap up of a tech situation. Maybe you've been contemplating taking some sort of short course to boost some sort of technical skill also is possible. Learning as well. So some sort of brain activity, some sort of mind, left brain activity, right? Is that left brain is the like math side, right? Hopefully I got that right. Venus also rules your fourth house, as we said last time. So there is some overlap with that October 14th eclipse with the topics and themes, maybe crossing over a little bit. For example, the focus might extend a little bit to your home, your family, your property, or your emotional foundation, your roots, that sort of thing. And this eclipse can stir up waters on how you connect to your family and roots. And it encourages you to look at any adjustments that may be needed in that vicinity. And as I said in the last video, eclipse season is a process. These shifts have been playing out for over a nearly 2-year time frame from 2021 to 2023. Here's the list of dates. So look back at your journal, your calendars, your social media, your emails, your iCloud, your text messages, and you can kind of come up with a narrative on what was going on for you with these Taurus topics. And so let's get into those Taurus topics. What kind of topics can this eclipse bring up? What is it wrapping up for y'all? Firstly, final decisions around friendships may be coming up. This is a moment where you have been building towards this, and you're not necessarily just evaluating friendships. You're making harder, more final decisions about who stays in your life in a more serious way. It is also a last call for some sort of social media cleanup. This eclipse is a cue to finalize any changes you've been contemplating about your online presence. Thank you, 11th house. Delete, mute, unfollow, make the call. Also, any type of activism that you're involved with, if you've been dipping your toes into social causes, it's time to either fully commit or gracefully exit. This is the last stretch, so we're making it count with these topics. Also, closure related to work changes. If there have been shifts with your job that has impacted your finances, expect this eclipse to maybe bring some sort of final sense of resolution of some kind. Also, final invites, final goodbyes, the groups that you're finding yourself invited to or excluded from around this eclipse are going to likely play a significant role in the next chapter of your life. This is also the last unmasking time. If there are any shady characters left in your social circle, in your allies list, this is when the final veil will drop. No more guessing games. You're going to know where they stand and where you stand. And this leads to resolving of whatever kind of conflicts that are coming up. So like any lingering tensions within your community or your social circles are likely to reach a boiling point that then lead to resolution. So we're wrapping up some storylines here. Also, final tech or communication adjustments. So if you've been considering a tech upgrade of some kind or a change in how you communicate with close associates, this eclipse is the time to finalize those thoughts into actions. Revisiting commitments is also a theme that might come up. It's a final shot at rekindling or completely severing ties with past group projects. Also, the settling of home and family matters with the fourth house included. There may have been ongoing issues or changes with family for the past 2 years, and you can expect this eclipse to bring a sense of closure, maybe with your property or house as well, not just family. So I asked my Instagram to write in and tell me a story of the last time the eclipses were hitting their houses. This is for Cancer rising, the last time an eclipse hit their 11th house. So this was like the universe did a deep cleaning of my social circle. I was so excited to start a new project with a group of, quote, friends I'd been tight with for years. Then, out of nowhere, drama erupts over the project's direction and leadership roles. Tempers flared and long buried resentments surfaced. The project imploded, but what really shook me was realizing these friends didn't have my back. As tough as it was, I had to distance myself and find new collaborators. The upside, I joined a new group that fully aligns with my values, and the projects we're working on now are way more meaningful. I loved that story. I had to share with the fellow Cancer risings. So here are some of my tips and recommendations for dealing with this eclipse. Number 1, finalize your social decisions. Given that this is the last eclipse in a series of eclipses, don't leave any decisions hanging about community involvement. Make your stay or go choices for this eclipse with friends, groups, allies, etc. A tech checkup is recommended with this eclipse. Given the potential for communication issues, maybe take a break from social media or be super cautious about what you post on social media or what you consume on social media. Let's have some media literacy, right? An accidental tweet could have a little bit of a lasting impact unnecessarily. I'm not saying that it's right. I'm just saying it might happen. This is a good time to have an important discussion with friends or community, but make sure you are ready to see things through to the end. You cannot start something without finishing it with this eclipse. And this eclipse might make it easy for conversations to get intense. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so Cancer. This eclipse is posing some pretty big questions. What has this 2-year journey taught you about your community, your allies, and your friendships? How have your relationships within these circles changed? And what final tweaks or exits do you need to make to align with this more evolved sense of belonging that you have grown into? This is your moment to take stock of whatever social transformations have been going down since 2022. Recognize the new communities that you've joined, the friendships that you've built or broken, and the social causes that now speak to your heart. And then get ready to lock in those changes. And that's what we have, Cancer. So how do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any of these patterns before? I would love to read your stories. I love reading your comments. Drop a comment. Let's share. Let's learn from each other. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help build the community and the channel. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, Pyxis Fellowship offers personalized weekly and monthly horoscopes. The monthly horoscopes are really cool. I recommend you look into those. I am available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join the 9th House Discord server for free to keep the astro, tarot, mystical conversation flowing. And I will see you next time, friends. Catch you on the flip side. Hello, my Leo rising besties, my fixed sign rising besties. This full moon lunar eclipse is at 5 degrees Taurus in your 10th house. It's a very supercharged full moon that illuminates the Taurus whole sign house topics in your chart and compelling you to release any old, outdated narratives about those topics to clear space for something new for the next 2 years. So think of this as an intense, desire-driven finish line moment where strategic choices are meeting a hunger for change moving forward. This eclipse is in your 10th house, and this brings a focus on your job, your career, your visibility, your reputation, and your overall life direction and goals. There's a cat running on the roof. So this eclipse sheds light on how you are perceived in a professional setting and just overall your career path. There is a benchmark moment for your roles, your titles, and your public image. And this is an intense moment to release any outdated professional goals, people, things, ideas, and helps you make strategic choices for career changes moving forward. Venus is the ruler of this eclipse. To flavor it up a little bit, Venus is still in Virgo on the last week of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer. Venus is still in detriment in your 2nd house until November 8th when it moves into Libra and we are all going to majorly improve. I digress. Venus in your 2nd house draws some attention to your finances, your income, your physical possessions. This trines your Taurus house. So this is money and work, kind of a wrap up of what's going on with how you make money. There is a potential for benchmarking budgeting strategies also, maybe contemplating significant purchases or Again, benchmarking your material values and that kind of thing. There is an opportunity with this for shifts on how you handle your resources, maybe signaling some sort of finalization of a change in resources. Venus also rules your third house, so there may be some overlap from the eclipse that happened on October 14th, or the topics and themes kind of cross over a little bit. This could involve adaptations in your environment, your immediate environment around you, like your neighborhood or communication styles or relationships with roommates, siblings, relatives. So this eclipse brings some focus on how you've managed transitions or changes with those third house topics also. As I said in the last video, eclipse season is a process. So these are shifts that have played out over a nearly 2-year time frame from 2021 to 2023. Here's the list of dates. Look back at your calendars, your journal, your social media, your emails, your iCloud. You can find what was going on these around these dates to kind of construct your narrative of what's been transforming with this Taurus eclipse series. And so what can you expect with this eclipse? Let's talk about some possible themes that come with this eclipse. Number 1, final career moves. If you have been contemplating a job change, this is likely when you will make a final decision. It's wrap-up time. Maybe you've switched jobs and you finally get to delete your old boss's number and your new job kind of starts, at the same time. Number 2, this is a time where any pending accolades or promotions will materialize, marking the end of a phase. So if you were going to get a raise, a promotion, a job title change, recognition, some sort of recognition, this is when it will happen. Number 3, the closing of certain conversations. That big talk with your boss or some sort of other authority figure or both. This is likely the last episode of a season with that. Major plot points are getting resolved so we can move forward. Number 4, there is a reputation recap happening also. How you are seen at work is evolving or has been evolving for the past 2 years, or how you act at work has been evolving for the past 2 years, or your goals, that sort of thing. And this is when the final verdict or final settle in comes through. Number 5, spotlight's last glow. So if you've been dodging the public eye, it will find you at this point. It's like the season finale where all of your storylines are going to converge on some level. Number 6, this is your last chance in this eclipse cycle to reevaluate and adjust your career goals moving forward. Also, there is a network reshuffle happening. So friendships or alliances, especially at work, reach some sort of conclusion. Some may stay in the next season of your life and some will not. There's also the Mercury, Mars, Jupiter scene, which means any last minute debates or arguments are probably going to happen. So choose your words wisely. They will have a lasting impact. This is not something that you can say something under your breath and no one will think about it again. This is something you have to see through. So be careful what you say. Also, some sort of tech troubles or like a wrapping up of tech issues because of Venus. Venus is hinting at some sort of final round of technical glitches. And so resolving them now, as this chapter is closing, is supported. And my last expectation is that this is when you are tying up loose ends in your professional life. You're not just finishing a chapter, but kind of closing a book to then move on to the next volume. I asked my Instagram to write in to tell me stories of the last time they had eclipses in their chart. And this is what Leo Rising said the last time there was a lunar eclipse in their 10th house. This was like, okay, let me find it. This was like a really good one too. Okay, I was in a job that I was just tolerating, nothing exciting. Right around the eclipse, I got an unexpected job offer from a company I dreamt of working for but never thought I'd get a shot at. I was really torn. The new job was in a different city and it would mean leaving behind family and friends. But it felt like the universe was giving me a nudge, so I took the plunge and accepted the offer. Fast forward to now, and it's been a game changer for my career trajectory. I've gained more visibility, and the projects I'm working on are really fulfilling. I do miss my old community, but it was a change I needed to make. The eclipse literally brought to light the changes I needed to make professionally, and I couldn't be happier with the results. So eclipses don't always have to be scary, right? They don't have to be scary. I love that story. So here are my tips we have for dealing with the eclipse. Number 1, tread carefully with career matters. So given that this is the last eclipse in a series focusing on your 10th and 4th houses, you may experience some sort of final revelation or event related to your career or public life. So making well-considered moves rather than impulsive decisions, especially with that Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio thing, spicing things up. This is definitely a benchmark moment, not necessarily a moment to take action, but final revelations are coming. Number 2, watch your words. Communication is going to be a bit edgy, so think before you speak, okay? Especially at work. This is particularly crucial if you're in a situation that could have long-term repercussions with your public image or career, so watch your words. My next point, keep your guard up. I know, that's like not the funnest advice to get, but tensions will be running high, so be on alert for any situations or people that might be more trouble than they're worth. If you're working that day, let the people be crazy and don't be crazy with them, okay? Watch for red flags, listen to your intuition. Your intuition is going to be loud and on point. Listen to it. So, Leo, this eclipse is posing big questions. What has this 2-year journey taught you about your career, your public image, and the roles you want to be known for taking on? Have you evolved in your professional life? And what final tweaks or goodbyes do you need to make to fully embrace this refined version of yourself in the public sphere? This is an eclipse to acknowledge the changes and the progress that have been happening with your job, your approach to your career, or even your public reputation since the end of 2021. You have had a wild ride of ups and downs with your 10th house topics. I'm sure your career has gone up and down, and now is the time to solidify the lessons learned and the transformations that have happened. And that's what we have, Leo. So how do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any of these patterns before? Drop a comment. Let's discuss. I love reading your stories, and so do other people. Let's share and learn from each other. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help build the community, to help me continue being able to do this. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, you can join Pisces Fellowship to get either weekly or monthly horoscopes. The monthly ones are really cool. They're R&Rs. I also give remediations or remedies for them. I'm also available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join the 9th house Discord to keep the astro, tarot, mystical conversation flowing and to talk to some fun community. So thank you, friends. Good luck. I will catch you on the flip side. Hello, Virgo risings. So this lunar eclipse, this full moon, is at 5 degrees Taurus in your 9th house. It is an eclipse that puts a decisive end to a 2-year saga that's been unfolding in your Taurus whole sign house topics. It is a extra supercharged full moon that is illuminating those Taurus topics and compelling you to release some sort of old narrative that's been going on there to clear space for a new narrative. Think of this as a very intense, desire-driven finish line where strategic choices are meeting a hunger for change. So this is happening in your 9th house. And this brings in focus on expanding your mind, your worldview, and possibly your literal horizons through travel or study. So the eclipse sheds light on your approach to topics like spirituality, education, and generally higher-minded topics like philosophy or law or even astrology or travel. So some sort of benchmark moment with your beliefs and the avenues you pursue for personal and intellectual growth is coming up. It's a benchmark moment, the ending of an era and the beginning of another era there. Venus is the ruler of this eclipse, so we got to look at Venus, and it is still in Virgo on the last week of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer. Still in its detriment in your first house until November 8th when it moves into your second house, and cha-ching, you get rich. But that's another discussion. So this eclipse puts Venus, being the ruler of the eclipse, puts some focus on you, how you present yourself, your overall vibe, your self-perception, your identity, your overall goals and life direction. It is a time of benchmarking your identity and self-reflecting. Like, are you happy with how people are seeing you? Are there any tweaks or changes that you need to make? This eclipse is providing opportunities for that. And it also offers a window into reshaping your identity that aligns better with who you've become over the past 2 years. It's kind of like collecting all of the wisdom and applying it. Venus also rules your second house, so there may be some overlap with the October 14th eclipse, or the topics and themes have some sort of crossover from that eclipse, whether it's how you handle your finances, some sort of resource, or even your self-worth and value. There is a moment of reckoning, and it offers a benchmark on assessing how you have evolved in managing your material life and considering final adjustments moving forward for this next era of your life. As I said in the last video, eclipse season is a process. These are shifts that have played out over nearly a 2-year time frame from 2021 to 2023. Here's the list of dates. If you look back at your calendar, your journal, social media posts, emails, iCloud, you can find these dates, kind of look at what was going on during those dates, and then construct your narrative for these Taurus house topics. So, for example, here are some things that you might be expecting with this eclipse. Some sort of intense moment of clarity, maybe having some aha moment regarding education, or like a benchmark moment regarding your education. Maybe you are finishing up some sort of course or some sort of era that you were in school-wise, and now you're going into your next era of school. Or spiritual goals even. Why did I say it like that? Spiritual goals even, like coming into a new era of your spiritual practice, and having aha moments regarding that. Also, travel plans being either set in stone or dismantled. So given the 9th house influence, right, any pending travel plans might either solidify or completely fall apart, helping you understand where you should or shouldn't go. Thank you, North Node. Thank you, Destiny. You might experience or notice some sort of conflicting beliefs coming up around this eclipse, because Mercury and Mars are conjoining in Scorpio and opposing Jupiter in Taurus. You might find yourself embroiled in heated debates over philosophy, ethics, religion, education. Just remember to pick your battles wisely. People are going to be fighting. Like, don't go on Reddit on this day. This is not a good day to go on Reddit. Also, as I was saying earlier, like a new era of studies, some sort of new or revised study path. So whether you are in academics or some sort of self-study, you might decide to change a field of study or double down on what you've already committed to. Also, some sort of final release of an old, outdated worldview that you had. It is a chance to let go of any beliefs that you don't resonate with anymore, that you've been thinking like, I don't really actually think like that. Why am I thinking that? Like with Venus as the ruler of this eclipse, it's going to have some personal ramifications for how you value yourself and your resources. You might also notice heightened dream activity or heightened intuition. Do not ignore your gut feelings during this eclipse or your dreams during this eclipse. They're likely to be way more potent indicators of what you need to focus on and how you need to move forward. You can also expect some sort of financial benchmark or review to come up because Venus rules your second house. You might be pondering the next financial strategy, or maybe it's in relation to education costs or travel expenses of some kind. Also, watch for dishonest characters, shady people. Given the overall astrological climate, be cautious of your interactions with new acquaintances, especially in educational or travel settings. Be careful of the weirdos. I'm a weirdo. Be careful of me. But you know what I mean, the shady people. And then also some sort of strategic relationship move is possible. If you have been navigating a long distance relationship or one that involves a different cultural or educational background, expect the eclipse to bring a defining moment in that relationship. So I asked my Instagram to write in to tell me their experience with the last time they had an eclipse in this house. And this is what Virgo rising had to say. Hey, I have to tell you about the last time an eclipse hit my 9th house. It was wild. I was in the middle of applying for grad schools, totally overwhelmed by the process. I was also dealing with a crisis of faith, questioning all the spiritual beliefs I'd grown up with. Then the eclipse happened. Suddenly, I had a moment of absolute clarity. I knew which school I wanted to go to, and also realized that it was okay to chart my own spiritual path, separate from what I'd been taught. It was like the universe gave me a big old nod, confirming that I was headed in the right direction. So yeah, eclipses in the 9th are no joke, and they can really shake up your whole worldview. Thank you, Virgo rising. I'm excited for y'all for this next era, but I'm going to move on now to tips on how to handle this eclipse and the energy it brings. Number 1 tip, critical thinking is key because we have Mercury and Mars in Scorpio opposing Jupiter. Be discerning about the information you get and the opinions you encounter. Use this eclipse to benchmark your beliefs and maybe assess your beliefs critically rather than getting swept up, in the fervor of heated debates. My second tip, budget check for any big plans. So since Venus is also ruling your 2nd house, it is a great eclipse to review your finances, your budget, especially concerning any travel or education plans. Check for any hidden costs or ways to better manage those resources, and you will be supported. Number 4, take stock and reflect instead of act. This eclipse is the culmination of a 2-year journey, so use it as a checkpoint to see how far you've come in terms of broadening your horizons, whether through travel, study, or spiritual growth, or all 3 for some of you. Next tip, be cautious of new encounters. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but given the astro climate, it's a good idea to be extra careful with any new people you meet. Particularly in academic or religious settings for this eclipse. Make sure you know who you are dealing with before diving into any deep commitments or even discussions. Okay, Virgo, this eclipse is asking you, what concrete changes have you made in your educational path or your career since 2022? Have you taken that study abroad trip that you've been dreaming of? Did you dive into any specific spiritual practices? What actionable steps do you still need to take to solidify this new approach you have to learning, spirituality, or travel? This is the eclipse to make a list of tangible transformations, like either completing courses, traveling to new places, or just engaging in spiritual communities, and identify what concrete actions you need to finalize in this new phase of life that's been unfolding since 2022. So you can then move forward with the next era. And that's what we have, Virgo. How do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any patterns coming up? Drop a comment. Let's learn. Let's share from each other. I love reading your comments so much. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help build the community in the channel. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, don't forget you can join Pix's Fellowship, which offers weekly and monthly personalized horoscopes. I am available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join the free 9th House Discord server to help keep the astro conversation flowing, or tarot, or any type of mysticism. Today, we're talking about the shadow man in the Discord. All right, that's what we have. Thank you so much for being here, Virgo. I will catch you on the flip side. Good luck. Hello, Libra rising. This lunar eclipse is at 5 degrees Taurus in your 8th house. This is an eclipse that puts a decisive end to a 2-year saga that's been unfolding with your Taurus whole sign house topics. This eclipse is a supercharged full moon that is illuminating those Taurus house topics and compelling you to release an old narrative to clear space for something new with those topics. So the 8th house brings focus the 8th house is where the eclipse is for y'all, and the focus is on financial and emotional transformations and deals. So this eclipse sheds some light on your approach to money, debts, and loans. It is a benchmark moment for some sort of emotional baggage or trauma, possibly. The 8th house is about stuff we don't want to look at. So this is an intense eclipse to help release any outdated beliefs about debt, money, your mental health, therapy, and to make conscious choices for deep transformations. So Venus, your planetary ruler, is also the ruler of this eclipse. And Venus is still in Virgo on the last week of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer. Thank the Lord. But it is still in its detriment in your 12th house until November 8th, when your life will drastically improve when Venus moves into your first house. But I digress. Venus, being the ruler of this eclipse, draws some attention to your mental health, to your hidden things, to alone time, as well as travel or just being far from home on some level. This eclipse might bring some shifts related to how you engage internally, or with secrets, or with feeling stuck about something. It kind of reminds you of how you want to escape certain things. Venus is also, like I said, your chart ruler. It rules your first house. So there may be some sort of overlap of themes and topics from the October 14th eclipse. There is a little bit of overlap. So whether it's a change in your presentation or adapting to a new way that people are seeing you, or just fine-tuning your overall life direction and goals, this eclipse is going to put some focus on how far you've come in all of those, and in terms of your identity and how you present yourself. And as I said in the last video, eclipse season is a process. These are shifts that have been playing out for over nearly a 2-year time frame, from 2021 to 2023. Here's the list of dates. Look back at your journal, your calendars, your social media, your text messages, your iCloud, your emails, whatever has a date on it. And you can go back, look at these dates, see what was going on during these dates, and kind of construct the narrative that has been going on and playing out for the past 2 years with your Taurus house topics. So what can you expect with an eclipse happening in your 8th house? A lunar eclipse happening in your 8th house. Since it's the last one in the series, this is a last call for any financial fixes. Like, you can expect a final nudge to settle any lingering money issues like debts or shared finances. It's your chance to have a clean slate with this sort of stuff. It's also an eclipse where you might experience emotional intensity. Any suppressed feelings, traumas, anxieties could come bubbling to the surface. It's the universe's way of saying, deal with it now. You could expect possibly shifts in relationship dynamics. If you share resources with a partner, expect conversations or even confrontations to come up around money matters. Given that Venus is still in Virgo in your 12th house, these talks might be unusually raw or even contentious or just kind of challenging, confusing, but expect a definitive moment that sorts out who controls what. Number 4, you can revisit old wounds, as I was bringing up with the 8th house. If you have been in therapy, or if you have been considering going to therapy, this eclipse could be the catalyst that makes you take the plunge or revisits past topics for a deeper dive. As I like to say, do the transit before the transit does you. If you have been considering therapy, call a therapist and make an appointment for this eclipse so that the eclipse doesn't force you to then do it. Do it first, if you know what I mean. Okay, number 5, hidden things may get exposed with this eclipse because Venus is in the 12th house. So secrets may not stay secret very long with this eclipse. Whether it is something you have kept hidden or something hidden from you, the eclipse will force it out into the open. Number 6, you may experience sudden clarity with things going out into the open. Aha moments are definitely possible about something crucial that maybe has been murky lately. You might suddenly get some sort of clarity on your innermost wants and needs that you have not been able to access or make sense of, or you've been overlooking. Clarity. Number 7, spiritual shift of some kind. Thank you to the 12th and 8th house trine. Soul searching, spiritual insight is supported. If therapy isn't something you've been considering and spirituality is more your jam, maybe you buy a book that really, really helps your spiritual insights. Or maybe you start The Artist's Way, for example. Number 8, finalizing agreements is supported, whether it's loans, taxes, inheritances, just the dynamics of money with your partner. It is time to sign on the dotted line and lock things in with this eclipse. Number 9, you can expect risk-taking tendencies. With Mercury and Mars conjoining in Scorpio, you could feel a strong urge to make high-stakes decisions, especially around investments and money and shared resources. And lastly, what to expect: closure and release. Since this is the culmination eclipse, there is a strong end of an era vibe. So whatever you've been grappling with, especially related to these 8th house matters I've been talking about, this is your green light to let go and move on. And so I asked my Instagram to write in with stories of eclipse stories. And this was the last time, this is what Libra had to say about the last time an eclipse happened in their 8th house. So the last time an eclipse hit my 8th house, I was dealing with a mess of financial and emotional stuff. Out of nowhere, I received this unexpected tax bill I had no idea about. On top of that, it forced me to reevaluate some of my unhealthy coping mechanisms. Weirdly enough, this eclipse also triggered some serious conversations about finances with my partner, stuff that we've been avoiding. It wasn't all doom and gloom, though. The intensity of it all actually pushed me to finally seek therapy and sort out some of my deep-rooted issues. So yeah, it was a heck of a ride, but strangely transformative. That's the 8th house for you. Strangely transformative. So here are my tips for dealing with the eclipse. Number 1, stick to the basics. Keep it simple. This is the final act in a 2-year drama. It is about closure. If there is something that you've been avoiding in the areas of finance, mental health, shared resources, now's the time to face it. Face it before it faces you. Number 2, double check your financial matters. In the realm of shared resources, loans, investments, make sure all your paperwork is in order. Given the Mercury-Mars conjunction, it's very easy to overlook details and make mistakes, so keep your eyes peeled for anything fishy or unclear with paperwork. Speaking of which, my 3rd tip for y'all: this isn't the best time to make any risky financial moves or to lend out any resources. Again, with Mercury-Mars, the urge to take a gamble could be very strong, but please resist unless your intuition is screaming at you otherwise. And then my 2 other tips, which I talked about earlier, which is do not do any manifestation rituals. And the ancients believe that eclipses were malefic, so don't stare at it. If you want to hear more about that, go listen to the overview. So this eclipse is asking you, what has this 2-year journey taught you about your shared resources, your emotional connections, and financial matters? How have you transformed in these areas? And what final adjustments or closures are necessary for you to embrace this evolved perspective that you've gained over the past 2 years? This is a pivotal moment. This eclipse is a pivotal moment to acknowledge the changes that have occurred in how you relate to money, debts, shared assets, and emotional bonds with people. Now is the time to put to rest any lingering issues that have been hanging over your head since the beginning of 2022. How do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any patterns coming up? Drop a comment. Let's learn. Let's share from each other. I love reading your comments so much. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help build the community in the channel. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, don't forget you can join Pix's Fellowship, which offers weekly and monthly personalized horoscopes. I am available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join the free 9th House Discord server to help keep the astro conversation flowing, or tarot, or any type of mysticism. Today, we're talking about the shadow man in the Discord. That's what I have, Libra. Thank you so much for being here. I will catch you on the flip side. Hello, Scorpio rising besties. This full moon lunar eclipse is at 5 degrees Taurus in your 7th house. And this is a lunar eclipse that puts a decisive end to a 2-year saga that's been unfolding with your Taurus whole sign house topics. It is a supercharged full moon that illuminates those Taurus house topics, compelling you to release an old narrative and to clear space for something new. So the 7th house brings up interpersonal relationships. It highlights your interactions with partners, besties, clients, or even potential marriage prospects. This eclipse in your 7th house is a benchmark moment or a finish line moment for how you handle certain relationships and what they mean for your future. So it's a critical time to let go of any outdated dynamics and to make strategic decisions about who stays in your life. Venus is the ruler of this eclipse, and Venus is still in Virgo on the last leg of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer. It is still in detriment in your 11th house until November 8th, when Venus's condition will improve drastically, but then go into your 12th house. So that'll be good for traveling. Anyway, I digress. We're talking about Venus in your 11th house. So this draws some attention to your social circle, your group affiliations, or your community, your allies, your friends. So expect some sort of shift in your engagement with friends, networks, or audience, or your social media followers. This is an opportunity to reassess or benchmark how you fit into groups and if you need to make any changes. Venus also rules your 12th house, so there may be some overlap from the October 14th eclipse, or the topics and themes have some sort of crossover. Don't be surprised if some themes from hidden parts of your life, like mental health or spirituality, the unseen things, they exist. They're just not seen with the naked eye, and they might surface around this time. You might find yourself considering retreating or alone time, benchmarking your spiritual beliefs or understanding of what's going on behind the scenes in your life. This is an eclipse that also underlines how far you've come in dealing with things that you generally keep hidden or reserved for your most private moments. And as I said in the last video, eclipse season is a process. These are shifts that have played out over nearly a 2-year time frame from 2021 to 2023. Here's the list of dates. Look back at your calendars, your social media, your emails, your iCloud. You can look back at these dates and kind of form a narrative of what's been happening with these Taurus house topics. And this is the final chapter of that story. That I guess I should say that chapter is closing now with this last eclipse on October 28th. So this isn't a one and done deal. This has been a long haul journey and we are wrapping it up. Here are the possible themes and effects that you can expect from this eclipse in your 7th house. Number 1, relationship realities. The light is shining on your one-on-one relationships, possibly bringing clarity or closure. Expect to finally see the value or lack thereof in certain bonds. It is essentially the ending of an era and the beginning of another era with your relationships. Number 2, you can expect intense social shifts because Venus in detriment in your 11th house could suggest changes with your social circle, groups that you're involved with or allies that you are involved with reach a benchmark moment or transform a little bit as you focus on quality over quantity. For example, like a best friend situation, the eclipse could highlight the state of your closest friendship, making you seriously consider if the dynamic is beneficial for both of you or if it needs to change in some way. It might be time to let go of a best friend or a partner, or the era with them, not necessarily letting them go, but like era shifting. Or with clients, even with focus on the 7th house, you might find that long-standing business relationships with clients reach some sort of turning point, requiring you to either recommit or part ways, or have a new era of client work. Number 5, you can expect deep dives into hidden themes. So with Venus ruling your 12th house, issues that you've been avoiding might surface for one last review, like patterns in relationships that have been, that have more to do with internal struggles, not necessarily something happening outwardly. Number 6, you can expect feelings of destiny to play out. With the North Node at play, some relationships or scenarios might feel very fated during this eclipse. You could notice that this is the universe's way of sorting what is and what isn't meant for you. Thank you, North Node. Number 7, you can expect impulsivity in the world at large. That whole destined feelings part might make people act impulsively. Weigh the risks carefully, especially when it comes to any type of interactions with people. You can also expect tension in communication. Thank you, Mercury, Mars. So anticipate direct, possibly confrontational conversations in relationships. Also, number 9, buggy technology. So hiccups with communication platforms, which could even lead to misunderstandings, which then brings tension in communication. You see where I'm going with this, but like your phone might act up, technology might act up. And number 10, what to expect, a resurgence of past themes in general. Given that this is the culmination of a series, you can expect issues or themes from the past eclipses, particularly those connected to relationships, to resurface and come up for resolution. So I asked my Instagram to write to me about eclipses that have happened. And this is what Scorpio rising had to say about the last 7th house eclipse they had. Before the last 7th house eclipse, my relationship was a mess. We were arguing nonstop and it felt like we were on the edge of a breakup. But when that eclipse hit, something clicked. We had this really intense, honest conversation that we had both been avoiding. Ever since then, it was like we're on a whole new level. Solid, understanding, no more constant bickering. It's crazy how the energy of that one night changed everything for us. See, eclipses don't always have to be scary. Sometimes they bring good things. And here are the tips I have for dealing with the eclipse. Number 1, given the Mercury-Mars opposition to Jupiter, speak your truth, but do choose your words carefully, especially with your partners, your besties, your clients. Misunderstandings are very likely during this transit, and words can cut deep, so be very mindful with your words. Number 2, reevaluate benchmark relationships. Use this eclipse to think deeply about your one-on-one interpersonal relationships. Are they balanced? Are they fulfilling? Given that this is a culmination and a finish line of sorts, this is the right moment to decide who stays in your life and who goes. And with that being said, bringing me to my 3rd tip, protect your energy during this eclipse. Emotional or relationship tension might ramp up during this period, so make sure to set boundaries and maybe even step back from interactions that feel too heated or too confrontational. Know that things are going to be hot, and we as Scorpio risings are ready to fight, and this isn't necessarily fun fighting weather, so no. And then I have the 2 other points, which I already mentioned during the overview. If you want me to go deeper into that, go check out the overview. No manifesting, and stay inside. Or at least don't stare at the eclipse, the baleful rays and all that. So, Scorpio, this eclipse asks you, what has this 2-year journey taught you about your relationships? How have your partnerships, friendships, or professional connections evolved since the end of 2021? And what final shifts or releases do you need to make to fully embrace this new relational landscape that you've built? This is your moment to acknowledge the seismic shifts that you've made over the past 2 years with your 7th house topics of relationships. This is the end of a chapter, the culmination of a 2-year saga that has fundamentally changed how you engage with others, from your partner to your besties to your clients. So that's what I have, Scorpio. How do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any patterns coming up? Drop a comment. Let's learn. Let's share from each other. I love reading your comments so much. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help build the community in the channel. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, don't forget you can join Pix's Fellowship, which offers weekly and monthly personalized horoscopes. I am available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join the free 9th House Discord server to help keep the astro conversation flowing, or tarot, or any type of mysticism. Today, we're talking about the shadow man in the Discord. So much for being here. Good luck, y'all. I will catch you on the flip side. Hello, Sagittarius risings. This lunar eclipse is happening at 5 degrees Taurus in your 6th house. This is a lunar eclipse that puts a decisive end to a 2-year saga that's been unfolding with the Taurus whole sign house topics in your chart. It is a supercharged full moon that is illuminating those Taurus house topics and compelling you to release an old narrative to clear space for something new. So the 6th house, where the eclipse is, brings focus on routine, workplace, and your general daily life. So it puts a spotlight on your work environment, your interactions with coworkers, and your just overall day-to-day routine and tasks. Your to-do list, that entire list, that is 6th house stuff. Laundry, dishes, like never-ending to-do lists, never-ending tasks that always come back. That's 6th house stuff. So this eclipse offers a critical moment to let go of any old habits, old routines, or old work-related stressors. It is an intense culmination of your efforts with your health, with the services you provide, and even your relationship with your pets. So Venus is the ruler of this eclipse. Venus is still in Virgo on its last week of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer. It's still in detriment in your 10th house until November 8th when things improve for Venus. So Venus brings in focus on your career, your public image, and interactions you have with authority figures or people with more power than you. This Venus interaction brings an opportunity to evaluate and shift and benchmark how you are seen in your overall life with your overall goals and reputation and the roles you're known for taking on. It's an eclipse that brings in some energy that helps you benchmark your career goals and if they are in alignment with your truth. So Venus also rules your 11th house. So there may be some overlap from that October 14th eclipse, or the topics and themes have some crossover. It brings attention to your social networks, your friendships, and just in general, your broader community affiliations. It could be social media, it could be groups that you're involved with. But it highlights how your work life impacts your social circles and how these networks might evolve based on your professional life. As I said in the last video, this eclipse season is a process. These shifts have been playing out over nearly a 2-year time frame from 2021 to 2023. Here's the list of dates. You can look back at your calendars, your text messages, social media accounts, posts, emails, iCloud, figure out what was going on during these dates, and then you can map out kind of a narrative of what was going on with these Taurus house topics. And the final chapter of the story is closing now with the last lunar eclipse happening October 28th in Taurus. So this wasn't a one and done transformation. This has been a long haul journey and we are wrapping it up now. So what can you expect? What can you expect with this full moon eclipse? Let's go through my list. Number 1, you might experience a final reckoning at work. This is the last eclipse in the series, as I said, so you can expect some definitive conclusions related to your job or your daily routine, your daily tasks. It might mean that a project you've been grinding on finishes, or some sort of complicated workplace dynamic finally wraps up. Number 2, you could also experience sudden health insights. Given that the 6th house influences health, you might experience some sort of aha moment regarding your wellness, which could leave you to drop an old unhealthy habit or shed something old. Number 3, you might expect coworker drama. If there is any ongoing tension with coworkers you've been experiencing, expect it to surface and to likely resolve in a very decisive way around the eclipse. Thanks to the Mercury-Mars conjunction, things might get heated, but also it will clear the air. Number 4, you can expect some sort of pet situations to come up and or wrap up. So if you have pets, their behavior might be more erratic during the eclipse, or some sort of issue regarding their well-being might become more apparent. Number 5, review and reorganization of your daily life. This is an eclipse that could trigger a realization that both your daily routines and your to-do lists need revamping. So this leads you to reorganize your daily life for better efficiency. You can also expect number 6 to just be very, very busy. This eclipse in the 6th house makes for a very long to-do list with work demands and daily tasks piling up and maybe not going the exact way you had planned either. Things getting eclipsed, for example. Number 7, you can expect intense communication or risky communication, thanks to Mercury-Mars conjunction. Conversations may become intense or potentially lots of misunderstandings happening, kind of sounding like the sentence I just said, all messy and whatnot. So it's best to not get into it with anybody at all during this eclipse, unless you want to finish them. Number 8, your social network and its impact at work. Since Venus rules your 11th house, you might find that your work life and your social networks have some sort of interplay happening, or coming to a new phase of some kind. Number 9, a reputational clarity. With Venus on its last leg of its journey in your 10th house, you could receive some sort of feedback or insight in how you're perceived in your career, allowing you to make final adjustments moving forward in that career. And lastly, my last expectation, a sense of closure. Given that this is the culmination of a long series, there's likely to be a strong sense of readiness to move on to the next chapter, especially with your daily routines, your job, and just overall health. So I asked my Instagram to write in eclipse stories, and this is what the Sag rising said about the last eclipse in their 6th house. I thought it was very good, so I'm going to share. Hey, the last time an eclipse hit my 6th house was crazy. I was already juggling a hectic job, tight deadlines, and a new workout routine I was trying to stick to. Then, boom, the eclipse happened and it was like everything came to a head. My boss suddenly left the company, which threw everything into chaos, but weirdly also opened an opportunity for me to step up. Meanwhile, my gym closed for renovations, forcing me to rethink my entire fitness strategy. It felt like the universe was telling me, okay, enough messing around, it's time to get serious. And somehow I did. I took charge at work, started a home workout routine, and honestly, I've never felt more in control of my day-to-day life. So yeah, although I felt extremely out of control at first, eclipses are intense, but man, they do get you moving. Very good 6th house eclipse. So now I have some tips for y'all. These are the tips I have for dealing with this eclipse. Number 1, prioritize work-life balance, because there is intense focus happening with that 6th house of work or routines. You might fall into like a workaholic type of energy, and you need to strike a balance between work and rest. And with that being said, be patient with yourself when balancing this process, because balance is a process. Let it be a process. It doesn't need to be like perfectly balanced right away, but just keep that in mind. You don't want to overwork yourself with the 6th house stuff. Number 2, be mindful of social circles. Since Venus rules this eclipse and your 11th house, pay attention to how your work relationships bleed into your social life. Make conscious choices about the social circles that you engage with, especially as it relates to your career. And number 3, double check communication. Given that Mercury-Mars conjunction, be extra cautious with your words. Consider pausing before sending any angry emails or engaging in any heated conversations. And then I have my 2 last points, which I already talked about in the overview. Avoid manifestation rituals and do not stare directly at the eclipse. If you want to know more about that, go to the overview and listen. So Sag, this eclipse is asking you, What have these last 2 years taught you about your daily routines, your work life, your interactions with coworkers? How has your approach to health and well-being evolved? How has your approach and relationship with your pets evolved? This is the final chapter of a long story that's been unfolding in your 6th house since 2022. It's a benchmark moment to acknowledge the shifts that have taken place in your workplace, your daily routines, and again, your relationships with your pets and your health. Now is the eclipse to make the final adjustments or releases so that you can fully step up into this updated version of your day-to-day life. So that's what we have, Sag. How do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any patterns coming up? Drop a comment. Let's learn. Let's share from each other. I love reading your comments so much. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help build the community in the channel. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, don't forget you can join Pix's Fellowship, which offers weekly and monthly personalized horoscopes. I am available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join the free 9th House Discord server to help keep the astro conversation flowing, or tarot, or any type of mysticism. Today, we're talking about the shadow man in the Discord. Capricorn risings. This is a full moon lunar eclipse happening at 5 degrees Taurus in your 5th whole sign house. This is an eclipse that puts a decisive end to the 2-year saga that's been unfolding in your Taurus whole sign house topics. It is a supercharged full moon that is illuminating those Taurus house topics, compelling you to release an old narrative you've been carrying to make space for something new. So this eclipse being in your 5th house is a nice one. It's kind of a fun one for the most part. The themes with the 5th house are creative projects, art, your dating or your sex life, areas of personal pleasure, and children and birth. So the eclipse puts a spotlight on your engagement with art, creativity, and your love life. It is an intense benchmark moment to release past narratives about your creative abilities or your approach to relationships or your approach to games, fun, or birth or children. This is a final opportunity to make adjustments on how you approach these things to then move forward into the new era. This is the ending of an era and the beginning of another era. So Venus is the ruler of this eclipse, and Venus is still in Virgo on its last week of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer. It's still in detriment in your 9th house until November 8th, when things will majorly improve. With Venus here, it highlights your interests in higher-minded topics, higher learning, spirituality, philosophy. It's a benchmark for travel plans, religious beliefs, or educational pursuits of some kind, and potentially shifts how you view the world and your approach to topics of spirituality, belief, perspectives, like how you view things, your worldview. Venus also rules your 10th house, so there could be some overlap with the October 14th eclipse, or the themes may intertwine a bit. So this may involve a look at how your creativity or your personal relationships are affecting your career and your public image. This eclipse will also shed a light on how you evolved in your professional life and what changes need to be made for future growth. As I said in the last video, eclipse season is a process. These are shifts that have been playing out for over a nearly 2-year time frame, as I've said, from 2021 to 2023. Here's the list of dates. So you can look back in your calendar, your journals, your social media posts, your emails, your iCloud, figure out what was happening during these dates, and then you can construct a narrative of what was going on with these Taurus house topics. This is the final chapter of that story. It's closing now with this last lunar eclipse on October 28th. So what can you expect with this eclipse? You can expect a moment where you decide which creative ventures are worth continuing and which ones are ready to let go of. Expect to have clear insights on the paths that truly resonate with you moving forward. And you can also expect relationship milestones or benchmarks or endings. Like heightened emotional energy is going to push you towards making important choices with your love life, like taking things to the next level with somebody or saying goodbye. You can expect sudden insights into your joy and your pleasure, whether it's your approach to hobbies, even your sexual preferences. You can anticipate revelations that help you understand what brings you joy and how you experience pleasure. Number 4, you can also expect tensions in friendships or in social circles, thanks to Mercury, Mars in Scorpio. So conflicts could erupt within your social circle, forcing you to reconsider certain stances with friendships and alliances. You can also expect intense feelings about children, or like if you're a parent or if you are planning to become a parent, expect some sort of strong emotions to surface concerning children, possibly. Also, a reevaluation or a benchmark of recreational things you like to do for fun. So you'll be prompted to think about how you are spending your free time. This is a time to decide to commit to a sports team or to let go of some sort of activity that no longer serves you. Also, this is a time for your professional reputation to be in the spotlight, because Venus rules your 10th house. So your public image, your career could be influenced by how you handle these matters related to the eclipse. So you might gain recognition for your creative talents or reassess how you want to be seen professionally. It's a benchmark moment with your career. We can also expect a shifting of worldview of some kind. With Venus in your 9th house, there may be changes, realizations, or benchmarks with your educational pursuits, with your philosophical beliefs, your spiritual beliefs. And you can also expect heightened risk-taking, because Mars opposing Jupiter injects a risky energy into endeavors, especially related to romance, recreation, creativity. Be cautious, especially when the stakes are high. This is a time where you might get mad if you're playing games and throw the controller. So be aware of your your hobbies being challenging. If you're learning to knit or something like that, learning to sew, things could be challenging or risky. And lastly, you can expect a culmination of this 2-year journey. So since, again, this is the last eclipse in the series, you can expect to feel a sense of finality, like you're wrapping up loose ends on all these 5th house matters. Your narrative of fun, love, and creativity has been rewritten quite a bit, and now you're ready to live according to this updated storyline. And so I asked my Instagram to write in eclipse stories for me. And this was the story from the Capricorn rising about the last time an eclipse happened in their 5th house. As an example, I thought it was very, very astrologer good. So here it is. Last time there was a lunar eclipse in my 5th house, it felt like the closing credits on 2 significant chapters of my life. First, after a string of incompatible dates that went nowhere, I finally got clarity on the type of relationship I was actually looking for. It was as if all those awkward dinners and forced conversations had been leading me to better understand what I really want. At the same time, my approach to painting underwent a radical change. I had been clinging to a style that no longer resonated with me, and the eclipse energy helped me let go. I sold off my old canvases, feeling like I was saying goodbye to an old version of myself. I was so happy to sell them. The space that I created, both emotionally and in my studio, felt liberating. I felt like God had told me, okay, you've learned what you needed to. Now let's see what you can really do. I love that story. See, eclipses aren't always scary, They're just the ending of an era and the beginning of another era. So here are the tips I have for Capricorns with dealing with this eclipse. Number 1 is reflect and do not act. Given the high emotional charge and the culmination of long-term themes, this is not the time to make rash decisions. Number 2, mind your words. Mercury, Mars, and Scorpio, opinions are going to be charged during this eclipse. Choose your words carefully, especially in emotional or romantic discussions. Watch out for conflicts and make sure that the battles are worth fighting before you actually engage. Number 3, guard your energy. With this eclipse energy injecting intensity into your creative and romantic sectors, it's easy to feel drained and overwhelmed. So find a balance between participating in social or artistic endeavors and taking time for yourself to recharge. And then I, of course, have my bonus points, which are no manifesting and do not stare directly at the eclipse. If you want to know more about that, go to the overview because I go in a little bit deeper there. So this eclipse is asking you, Capricorn, what has this 2-year saga illuminated for you when it comes to your creative pursuits, your romantic relationships, and your overall approach to pleasure, fun, and recreation? How has your engagement with these fifth house matters altered the way you experience joy and express yourself? It is the final act, a moment to acknowledge the shifts, the ends, and the new beginnings in your fifth house, dating, art, leisure, that have been reshaping since 2022. It's a time to commit to this more evolved understanding of what brings you joy and what kind of creative work resonates with you and how you engage in your romantic relationships. Use this eclipse to finalize any adjustments or to let go of anything that no longer serves this new version of yourself. So that's what we have, Capricorn. How do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any patterns coming up? Drop a comment. Let's learn. Let's share from each other. I love reading your comments so much. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help build the community in the channel. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, don't forget you can join Pix's Fellowship, which offers weekly and monthly personalized horoscopes. I am available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join the free 9th House Discord server to help keep the astro conversation flowing, or tarot, or any type of mysticism. Today, we're talking about the shadow man in the Discord side. Hello, Aquarius risings. So this full moon lunar eclipse is at 5 degrees Taurus in your 4th house. This eclipse puts a decisive end to a 2-year saga that's been unfolding with your Taurus whole sign house topics. It is a supercharged full moon that is going to be illuminating those Taurus house topics and compelling you to release an old narrative about them to clear space for something new. So the 4th house eclipse themes include focus on your private life, your home environment, and family dynamics. It highlights questions around your foundation, your family relationships, and maybe even real estate. It's an intense moment to release past narratives about your home life, your familial connections, and your roots. It provides final opportunities to make adjustments in how you engage in your private life, whether it's rethinking your living situation or emotional bonds with your family. Venus is the ruler of this eclipse, and Venus is still in Virgo on the last week of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer, but it's still in detriment in your 8th house until November 8th when it moves into Libra and major improvements. But I digress. We're not talking about that. But with Venus being the ruler of this eclipse, that brings a spotlight into issues related to joint finances, debt, and even deeper emotional bonds and baggage and just partnership dynamics. So it also brings an opportunity for benchmarking how you handle resources, especially shared resources, as well as your mental health and well-being. Venus also rules your 9th house, so there could be some overlap with the October 14th eclipse, or the themes may intertwine. Maybe it's a final reconsideration or benchmark of a belief system that's tied to your family, or even shifts in how you approach topics of education, travel, or spirituality. The eclipse also calls attention to how your worldview and philosophies have shifted in the past 2 years, maybe as a result of changes on the home front or with family dynamics. And as I said in the last video, eclipse season is a process. These are shifts that have played over nearly a 2-year time frame from 2021 to 2023. Here is a list of dates. So look back at your calendar, your journal, your social media posts, your emails, your iCloud to figure out what was going on around these dates. And then you can construct the narrative that has been going on for the past 2 years with those Taurus whole sign house topics. The final chapter of this is closing now with the last lunar eclipse on October 28th. So it hasn't been a one and done deal. This is a long haul journey. So what can you expect with this eclipse? Possible themes and effects include finalizing conversations with family issues that have been brewing. It's a time where resolutions or significant turning points with family dynamics will occur. It's kind of a last hoorah of clearing the air. Number 2, real estate or property issue wrap up. If you have been in the midst of home changes or considering moving, this is an eclipse that signifies a finish line or a wrap up with those matters. Number 3, you can also expect ancestral insights. You might gain like sudden clarity or new information about your lineage or family history, and maybe it even compels you to dig deeper into your roots. Also, shared resources getting a bit more settled, issues around joint finances or inheritances, especially related to who you live with at home or your family, will reach resolution or at least a point of clarity and a benchmark. You can also expect final shift in beliefs, which I was kind of talking about earlier with that 9th house. Like if your family dynamics have made you question your worldviews or vice versa, this is where you're likely to find clarity or make change. This eclipse pushing you. Also, a mental health check is likely because of that 8th house focus. This is a benchmark for therapy or other emotional baggage. You can expect tech glitches, thank you, Mercury, Mars, especially at work or at home, but like appliances going wrong, your email not working, etc. You can also expect wanting to do some sort of risky home change, like the urge to do something drastic related to your home or a home renovation could hit you. But remember to weigh the risks because Mercury, Mars, you have to see it through. This is something where if you start it, you have to finish it. So make sure it's worth it. And last thing, closure, right? Since this is the last series, the last in the series of eclipses affecting Taurus, expect some sort of sense of finality or closure regarding your home or foundation or family that has been ongoing since spring of 2022. So I asked my Instagram to write in and tell me stories, tell me eclipse stories. And this was the eclipse story from Aquarius rising the last time an eclipse was in their 4th house. So it was very relevant and entertaining. I'm going to read it to you. Last time an eclipse hit my 4th house, everything about my sense of home started to shift. I found an old box of family photos and mementos in the attic, leading to deep conversations with my parents about our family history. This triggered a profound need to understand my roots. I took a DNA test and found out I had relatives in a different country. Meanwhile, I started feeling like my apartment was just a place and not a home. I went on a redecorating spree, getting rid of furniture and decor that no longer resonated with me. By the time the eclipse energy settled, my living space had felt like a true sanctuary, reflecting the new understanding I had of my family and myself. I couldn't have written a better one. Like, they wrote such a good story that was so perfect for an eclipse in the 4th house. Okay, so now I have the tips for the Aquarius risings and what to do with this eclipse. Number 1, watch your words. Given the Mercury-Mars conjunction in Scorpio, be mindful of your language, especially at home and with family and at work. Emotions and opinions are running high and words can cut deeper than usual, so don't get into any sort of arguments unless it's really worth it. Wait until this passes if you're going to. Also, a financial check is a tip, like with Venus still in Virgo in your 8th house, reviewing your finances, your debts, your shared resources, any shared financial matters, especially related to your home. Like, now's a good time to settle and get clarity on these issues, especially since this is the series closing. Also, given the themes of home and family, it's important for you to safeguard your emotional well-being during this eclipse and to set clear boundaries. This is a time of very, very heightened sensitivity for everybody. And so protecting your emotional space is crucial with this one. And Reflecting before making any big moves is good for this eclipse, whether it's a sudden urge to redecorate the entire house or make a significant change to the dynamics at home or with your family. Take a moment to think it over on the eclipse. The eclipse is wrapping up a long series, so it's a good moment for closure rather than rash decisions. And then I have the two other points, which I have mentioned before and I mentioned in the overview. If you want me to get into them deeper, go to the overview, but remember, no manifestation rituals and no staring at the eclipse, okay? So, this eclipse is basically asking you, what has this 2-year saga revealed to you about your home life, your emotional roots, your private self? And how have your family dynamics shifted? What are the final steps you need to take to fully embrace this evolved version of your new home life? This is your eclipse to acknowledge all the transformations that have gone on since 2022. Maybe you have restructured your living situation, or you've resolved long-standing issues with your family members, or maybe you've made financial decisions related to property, or deepened your understanding of what home actually means to you. This is the finale. It's the moment to tie up loose ends, finalize those emotional or physical home-related adjustments, and firmly step into this new chapter of your life. And that's what we have, Aquarius. How do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any patterns coming up? Drop a comment. Let's learn. Let's share from each other. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help build the community in the channel. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, don't forget you can join Pix's Fellowship, which offers weekly and monthly personalized horoscopes. I am available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join the free 9th House Discord server to help keep the astro conversation flowing, or tarot, or any type of mysticism. Today, we're talking about the shadow man in the Discord. Thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you on the flip side. Hello, Pisces rising. This lunar eclipse is happening at 5 degrees Taurus in your 3rd house, and it puts a decisive end to a 2-year saga that's been unfolding with your Taurus whole sign house topics. It's a supercharged full moon that is illuminating those Taurus house topics, compelling you to release old narratives and to clear space for something new. So this eclipse in your 3rd house brings focus on your immediate environment and your mind. This eclipse shines a light on your relations to friends, roommates, siblings, relatives, or neighbors, and issues of your commute, transportation, your car, your neighborhood, schooling, or your perspectives are coming into focus. This eclipse offers an intense moment of dropping old narratives about how you interact in your immediate environment. So maybe letting go of a feud with a neighbor, forgiving a sibling, making strategic changes on how you engage with people that surround you, like your roommates or something like that, changing your transportation, etc. Venus is the ruler of this eclipse. Also, like last time, Venus is still in Virgo on the last week of its transformation journey since the beginning of its retrograde early this summer. It's still in its detriment in Virgo in your 7th house until November 8th. So this highlights your relationships, your one-on-one interactions, your business partnerships, your clients. It's a time to benchmark relationships and contracts with Venus here. So Venus also rules your 8th house, and that means there could be some overlap of the October 14th eclipse themes. So issues related to money, taxes, loans might come into the forefront again. Or you could be delving into more deeper emotional subjects, your mental health, therapy, or forming a finish line with a certain transformative journey. And as I said in the last video, eclipse season is a process. These are shifts that have played out over a nearly 2-year time frame from 2021 to 2023. Here's the list of dates. So look back at your calendar, your journal, your social media posts, your emails, your iCloud, figure out what was going on around these dates, and then you can construct the narrative of what has been shifting in the Taurus whole sign house topics in your chart. And the final chapter of this story is closing now with the last lunar eclipse happening October 28th in Taurus. So this wasn't a one and done deal. This was a long haul journey. So what can you expect from this eclipse? You can expect possible closure in certain relationships. Given that this is the final chapter of this eclipse series, you could definitely experience a sense of chapters closing with siblings, roommates, close friends, neighbors, your neighborhood. Relationships that have been in flux since 2022 finally end or find resolution, or the next era, essentially. You can also expect transportation shakeup of some kind. If you've been having car problems or problems just with your commute, this could be an eclipse where all of that comes to a head and it requires you to make some sort of definitive decision, like fixing the car or switching to a new mode of commuting. You can also expect some sort of local environment changes, like maybe there's been construction or developments in your neighborhood that have been going on for ages, and it could finally wrap up or take a new direction. You can also expect communication or technology revamp. So given the techie nature of the third house, old devices might need to get retired, and in place you get new technology, changing your communication game. Also, you can expect final decisions regarding education or learning. If you've been in a study program or taking certain courses, you might decide whether to continue or to conclude your educational endeavors. You could also expect relationship reality checks. Venus being in your 7th house and also ruler of this eclipse calls for a sober look at certain one-on-one partnerships, maybe forcing you to benchmark some sort of relationship dynamic or conclude some sort of relationship dynamic. You can also expect financial ties wrapping up. Since Venus also rules your 8th house, you could finally close a loan, resolve a debt, or clarify how resources are shared in relationship. Also, communication gets intense. So you can expect words to be sharp, conversations to be decisive. You could have intense discussions that redefine relationships or redefine things for the foreseeable future. You can also expect some sort of mental health clarity. So you could finally get a diagnosis you've been looking for, or maybe an effective treatment plan for some sort of ongoing mental health issue, or even conclude a series of therapy sessions successfully if you've been going to therapy for the past 2 years. Maybe it's the end of that era. And lastly, what you can expect, given the intensity, this is a time for you to make final strategic choices in how you deal with your surroundings, whether it's letting go of an old grudge to a neighbor, deciding to move, or implementing a new routine. So I asked my Instagram to write in eclipse stories, and this was the story from the Pisces rising, who wrote a story about an eclipse hitting their 3rd house, which is very relevant to what's happening for you right now. So I'm going to read it. The last time an eclipse hit my 3rd house, it was like someone shook up my world like a snow globe. My roommate suddenly decided to move out, which left me scrambling to cover rent. At the same time, my sister came to town and spilled some family secrets that changed how I see our family. On top of that, my go-to coffee shop in the neighborhood closed down, and my car broke down twice in a month. Despite the chaos, it did force me to reevaluate my daily routines, upgrade my car, and sort through some complicated thoughts and emotions. So it's not all bad. Eclipses aren't all bad. They can totally bring us into our new era, usher us into our new era. So here are the tips I have for Pisces rising with this eclipse. Number 1, given that the 3rd house rules communication and technology, be prepared for technology to go haywire. Maybe back up your computer, back up your phone in advance. Refrain from installing any new software close to the eclipse date, at least. Also, tread carefully in conversations. With this energetic weather, words are cutting deeper than usual, so opt for listening more and speaking less during this period to avoid misunderstandings that could have very long-term impacts. Also, travel wisely. If you are commuting or traveling, be sure your vehicle is in good condition. Check your tires, check your oil, and check your brakes. Avoid any mishaps. Maybe keep a travel kit in your car, or maybe wash your car. Do something nice for your car. Thanks to Venus influencing your 8th house, it is pulling in topics of loans, debts, and emotional baggage. So this is a eclipse for you to not just reassess your financial agreements, but also confront any lingering emotional or mental issues. If you have any unsettled business with a therapist, that could be with a therapist, or maybe unresolved issues with yourself, addressing them now will save you headaches later. Also, for those in educational settings or involved in some sort of courses, this might be an eclipse where you're feeling the weight of all of this, the weight of exams or projects. Don't just cram. Plan your study sessions wisely with this eclipse coming up. Maybe reach out to teachers or mentors for additional guidance. Also, spend some time outside in your local area, but stay mindful. Keep an eye out for any changes in your neighborhood, your community that you could be aware of, whether that's new construction, local elections, or neighborhood meetings. And then, of course, I have the 2 bonus tips that I talked about in the overview at length if you want to know more about that. But number 1, avoid manifestation rituals. Number 2, do not stare directly at the eclipse. The ancients believed they were malefic. So, Pisces, this eclipse is basically asking you, what has this 2-year saga revealed about how you communicate, how you learn, and how you relate and travel in your immediate environment? How have your relationships with friends, roommates, siblings, or relatives shifted in the past 2 years? And what final choices or resolutions are you making now, moving forward in the next era of your life? This is your moment to recognize the substantial shifts that you've been going through since 2022 and how you engage with your local community, how you think, and how you communicate. This is a chance to finalize how you interact in the world around you in alignment with your authentic self. How do you feel about this upcoming eclipse? Have you noticed any patterns coming up? Drop a comment. Let's learn. Let's share from each other. I love reading your comments so much. So if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help build the community in the channel. If you want to delve deeper into astrology with me, don't forget you can join Pix's Fellowship, which offers weekly and monthly personalized horoscopes. I am available for one-on-one consultations, either readings or mentorships. And of course, you are welcome to join the free 9th House Discord server to help keep the astro conversation flowing, or tarot, or any type of mysticism. Today, we're talking about the shadow man in the Discord. So that's what we have, Pisces. Thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you on the flip side.